questions.
Hello and welcome to the Drummergy Podcast. I'm your host, Fred Rock Fisher. It is episode 141, and we've got our off-screen talent, the producer in the other room. There she is.
Good morning.
Episode 141, we're crawling up very quickly on 3 years of the podcast, which is pretty crazy cool and fun. And got to get some more guests scheduled, don't you think, producer? Need some more guests. I do have a couple messages out for some people, but I have not heard back yet. Today's discussion is entitled "Be the Best You Can Be," and there's some recent discussions I've had with some people and some things that I've seen on YouTube, and I thought, that would be a good thing to talk about. So, but before we get into that, it's we got to recap the goofy holiday stuff. Today is Make Your Own Luck Day, and
Make your own luck.
Make your own luck. What was it? Wasn't it Titanic? He goes, "I don't believe in luck." What did he say? What was the line?
Oh, I don't remember.
You don't remember what he said?
Oh.
Some people, I've lived in this world recently where I don't think about being lucky. I think it's just whatever's happening in that moment of my life that I worked really hard to achieve, whatever that is. And some people will view that as being lucky. Lucky is picking the right numbers for the lottery, right? You just have that fall in your lap when you pick the right numbers.
Sure. And the lottery's getting up to, excuse me, the lottery's getting up to like one of the highest amounts again.
So we might have to spend the $2 and pick a number.
Yeah.
We could probably throw caution to the wind for $2.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do if I ever won the lottery. It would be
it's kind of hard to think about, isn't it? You always think like, oh, I'll pay off my house, or I'll get a big house, or I'll get new cars.
Definitely get a newer car. Well, how much money are we talking about winning here? What is the what? Well,
it's like in the 700 million.
700 million.
Yeah, it's crazy high.
You could probably become Taylor Swift's neighbor for $700 million.
I don't know about that.
What about Travis Kelce? Could you be his neighbor for $700 million? Do they live in Tennessee?
No,
Come here, you're a Swiftie producer.
I think she has a place like in Connecticut, but she probably has multiple places. And then I don't know. I'm not sure where he lives.
Well, it's not multiple places like what we have. We have our house and a shared property in Cascade.
Yeah, nobody lives up there. Yeah. You can't even live there. It's only a summer place.
Just a summer thing.
Yeah.
Today is also Touch a Heart Tuesday. Blue Flashes is here. Good morning.
Touch a Heart?
Yeah, today is Touch a Heart Tuesday. The last Tuesday in April, in August, brings a playful twist on affection. I'm reading the thing from Google. Encourage someone to literally or figuratively touch a heart today. Well, I guess if you're a heart surgeon, you might be touching a heart today, like literally. Today is also Musical Yoga Day. Stretch to the beat. Yoga meets rhythm for a more harmonious flow.
Wow, there you go.
So there's your off the wall holidays for today. Through with this guy. You remember when David Letterman would read the top 10 and then he'd throw pencils or something, and he'd throw it behind him, like, 'cause the set sort of had like a glass thing, and Anton
sure.
Fig would always crash the cymbal. There's the Goofy Holidays. Okay, should we just dive right in? We could dive right in and see what all is happening here. So a few things that have happened over the last week that kind of gave me ideas for today's show. One was on the Boise Musicians Facebook page. I'm not sure who posted it, but it had to do with, do you entertain when you perform? Are you an entertainer, or are you just standing there playing your songs? And of course, anybody who commented, there was a wide range of thoughts on all of that kind of stuff. And Mrs. F, the producer, plays in the Casio Dreams, the all 80s synth pop tribute band. And they are great performers, I would say, especially Mary and Adam. Right?
Well, thanks.
You guys have a great interaction with each other, and it's really authentic, and it's fun, and it's cool. And it's not necessarily a manufactured performance, although there are some things that became kind of signature things that Casio Dreams does when they perform. Like the big kick in summer of '69.
The big kick, yep.
Always looking forward to the big kick. What's the Hey, Hey, Hey song?
Don't You Forget About Me.
Don't You Forget About Me. Where they all start jumping and the entire crowd starts jumping.
Yeah.
And then you have other bands that you go and see, and they're glued to iPads or things like that, where they haven't committed to learning the lyrics to the song, internalizing those, or I don't know. There's a number of things, and I guess just whatever little world everybody lives in, they think they're doing the right thing. But then how do you become better? Do you want to be better? You see where I'm going with this, producer?
Yes, I think so.
Now I got stuck in my thought. I got stuck in a thought loop.
You're talking about entertaining.
Entertaining and being the best. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. The best. So then it's not just, it's any band that I see online, and they'll have people that are like their band or whatever. They always say, this is the best band ever. Well, that's just the perception of whoever those group of friends are, I think. I always struggle with people using that term, like, you're the best band ever. I've been in quite a few bands where people say, "Oh, you're the best band ever," and I'm like, I don't.
There's a lot of great bands out there.
There's a lot of great bands out there. So it kind of makes me cringe just a little bit, because I guess the internal workings of your band. You're like, oh, those things could have been better. So that was one of the things that started my thought process on being the best you can be. So I had that rolling around in my mind. And then the other was not necessarily being on stage and musically related, but I've been on the phone with my buddy Chip Ritter quite a bit over the last week. And he asked me to help him out with some stuff, and he's helping me out with some stuff. And one of those is, I don't want to say who the company is yet, but he asked me to send him information to pass on to this company about myself. And I sent my website stuff to Chip, and then I forgot to include more information about myself. So I sent two emails, and I thought that was good enough for what he needed. And he called me about 15 minutes later, and he said, "I got your emails." Yeah, I got. And I said, "So what do you think of my stuff?" And he said, "Well, what do you think of your stuff?"
Oof.
And so that kind of took me off guard for a second.
Well, now I don't think much about my stuff.
Yeah, the fact that he asked that question made me panic for a moment. And then his follow-up questions made me panic even more. And he said that my email that I sent him to look at was absolute garbage. He didn't use the word garbage. He used a different word. But
wow.
He said this is an awful email. And he said,
wow.
Sometimes with these people, you only get one shot.
Yeah.
One attempt. And so he got pretty animated with me over the phone on the importance of putting an email together. And my knee-jerk reaction was I took offense for a moment. And then I had to okay, check that. Okay, you're done with that. Uh-huh. And now let's really listen to what Chip has to say. And he didn't tell me what to say or how to write the email necessarily, but he put it in this perspective. He said, pretend that you were sending an email to the president and you only had one shot. Think about how much communication people are trying to have with the president. Now, that's a pretty extreme example, and I don't really give a rip about your political views. This is not what that's about. The assignment is
pick a president, any president. Yeah, how's that?
Exactly. You're sending an email to George Washington.
Your favorite president.
What are you going to say to capture this person's attention? How's that email going to look? And so it made me reevaluate how I put those emails together in my thoughts and what I was going to say. And there's Chip now. Uh-huh. And so because of Chip's help in response to all of that, I put a new email together that included a photo and very clearly defined who I was, the purpose of the email, and a little bit about me. So it wasn't overwhelming this person with information to read. And then one link to my link tree, which is a new thing that I just started to use that Mrs. F put together for me, which link tree acts as a portal to all my websites and social media stuff. So I put all that together and I sent that back to Chip, and Chip said, "That's the best email ever." and I thought, okay, victory. But it was a really good, sometimes you need your friends to come around and bat you around a little bit and say, straighten up. This is what you need to do. We're all in this game together. Huh. And it's like picking your team member up and saying, now take the ball and run it into the end zone, make a touchdown. Fully commit to what you're doing. And because of that experience with Chip this week, I felt energized, like Chip's on fire right now, and he's really energized, and that's making me on fire and really energized about what I want to do. And I know that Chip's doing this with other people too. And so there's this big steamroller of musicians that are really getting going, and the wheels are turning, and stuff's happening. And it's so that was the second thing that happened in the week, where it said, just be the best at what you can do. Be the best you can be. So that had a profound impact on what I was doing. And I had also posted on Facebook. Well, let's go back to Chip because I don't want to forget this. So Chip is doing a lot of work for the Breast Cancer Can Stick It Foundation. And there's a drumathon that's happening on November 2nd, I believe is the date, in Dallas, Texas. And producer, can we get that link to help support that? Can we put that in the comments of the there it is. Yep. That's for Chip Ritter. So if you look at Mary's comment on, if you're watching on Facebook, there is a link to Chip's organization there to help donate for the Breast Cancer Can Stick It.
You might have to do a copy paste because sometimes when you're live and I try to attach links, it won't actually make it a link.
Oh.
So you might have to just do a copy paste.
You are welcome, Chip. Chip says, wow, thanks for the plug, you guys. Yeah. And just for more, you know what, hashtag Team Ritter. RITTER. Chip's doing a lot of work to put this together. There's prizes and stuff. I don't know all the details exactly for sure what's happening, but you can go directly to the source, Mr. Chip Ritter, and follow him on Facebook and Instagram, his YouTube page, all of that stuff. And you can find out all this information. I believe there's lots of giveaways that are happening. There's Chip's there. Get my words in the right order. Chip shared the link also right there. It's right there in the comments, people, right there on Facebook. You can get linked directly to Chip. And it's what a great deal. I did a shout out for him about it. Tommy Lee did, Greg Bissonette, and some other drummers that are escaping my my memory at the moment. Lots of great stuff happening though with that. And great work, Chip. Hashtag Team Ritter. See? The source is commenting, ladies and gentlemen. And if you see this on the replay, jump in there as soon as you can and check it out and support it if you would. That would be awesome. That would be so good. You're welcome, Chip. You're welcome. Also, on the side note, Chip is an author, and he's got some books out there. I just picked up Chip's book, Snare Force 1. And this is an excellent book on learning to play drums, especially the snare drum, and everything in this carries over to drum set. But he also had the help of Scott Johnson, the Blue Devils drumline instructor, helped him with this book. And it's really, really cool. It starts off very simple, so new drummers can be walked through this with a great teacher, and it just continues to get more complicated as you go. And it's a great book. I just got it in the mail yesterday and flipped through it, started playing some of it, and I'm looking forward to using it with my students. So if you're a drummer out there, I got mine through Amazon. So Snare Force 1 by Chip Ritter. There are some other books called Snare Force 1, but they're not this one. Make sure you get the one from Chip, okay? Really important to get the one.
Cool looking book.
It is. And I believe that this is a Trick drum, which Chip has an endorsement with Trick Drums. They got some really cool stuff out there. So there you go. Little plug for Chip and his book, which is awesome. Okay, so the email thing with Chip was a real eye-opener for me. And it...
You mean more so of an eye-opener than when I read your emails and say, yeah, you need to start over?
It's
I never read it.
Oh, well, I'll show you after the show. There's a weird now there's a weird dynamic sometimes when your wife is your critic. Now, I will say, typically, Mary is right on point with exactly what her thoughts and opinions are. And that makes me even more furious.
Wow.
Is having to admit that your wife is right.
Sheesh.
But when it comes from your friends, you got to go, oh, I know, and fix it, right? Sometimes it's where the information's coming from. But it was a good thing. So that ties in with, I had made this post about how quickly do people respond to phone calls, text messages, and emails. I have a buddy of mine who took lessons from me for a long time, who works for a company that it's their job to respond to phone calls, emails, and text messages within 1 hour of receiving it, or they could possibly lose their job.
Jeez.
Now, where he works, you're talking about, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in missed opportunity if people aren't taken care of timely. Now, is that an extreme example? Probably yes. However, if somebody sends me an email and they're looking for drum lessons and I see that, I respond to that person as quickly as I can. Now, I might be driving or something and obviously can't do it at that point, but I know that somebody emailed me about drum lessons and I need to get back to them soon because I'm not the only drum teacher in town, for one. So you want to get to people quickly and have that relationship. And so I know that when I return messages quickly, one, I'm glad I've done it because I don't have it hanging out there over my head.
Oh, geez.
Right?
Wow. Okay.
This can tie into another thing, but it's just take care of business before it piles up into this huge task. It becomes this monumental task. See, here I'm going to put, let's put Chip's comment up. Chip says, I hate waiting on text, but that's because I have the attention span of a rabbit on crack.
Well, yeah, but that's just it. Our attention spans are short now.
Yes.
Courtesy of things like TikTok, and we want instant gratification, right? So
yeah,
when I'm looking for something I want to buy, or I'm looking for something, I want an instant answer. I don't want to have to wait. And so that's the common thought process among a lot of people now. And they don't want to wait a couple hours to get a response. They just want a response now. So if they're looking for a drum instructor and you're the first one they call and it's been 15 minutes and they haven't heard back from you, they are probably going to move on, call somebody else. Now, if they wait, 30, 40 minutes, 2 hours, and I guess you have a chance to call them back. But
to I'm not saying this is 100% the case, but to your point is, if somebody is reaching out for drum lessons, there's a high probability that they also reached out to one or two others at the same time.
Yep.
And so then it's just a matter of who responds first.
Yeah.
So that's really important. Jamie Vinkus here. Jamie,
when I worked at Micron a long time ago, I remember there being they kind of started this like campaign where they were putting posters around the buildings about customer service and things like that.
Yeah.
Motivational stuff. And I remember this one poster that said, if you don't take care of your customer, somebody else will. Yeah.
Well, that's an old saying that's gone around.
Yes,
but you saw that at Micron, right?
Yeah, that's where I saw that poster. But yeah, I mean, don't let somebody else take your customer unless you've decided they're not your customer. There's always that.
Yeah. Yeah. So James has a really good one right here. And he said, waiting on text is very difficult now because you can see when they've been read.
Yep.
Exactly. So, I mean, come on, ladies and gentlemen, most of us always have our phone on us. And to James's point, when you send a text message, it'll say delivered. And then sometimes it'll almost automatically say read because they've seen it, right? And when that time goes by, it keeps going by and going by and going by and going by, and they're not responding, you're like, why aren't you responding? Now, you would think that if they have their phone in their hand and they've seen it, then how come they can't respond? It's not like they're on the water slide at Roaring Springs, right?
Maybe they are.
I guess they could. But who goes down the?
I don't know.
Who's on a?
I don't have an Apple Watch, so I don't know what that does. Like,
I hadn't thought about that.
Like if you have an Apple Watch and can you read it and then it shows as red, even though you're not in a position to be able to respond to it. I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Well, here's another example. Okay, so Chip, let's put Chip's comment up. Chip says, but it's hard to reply when you have 100 texts and some are super valuable to you. Yeah, well, I guess, when you have that, and I don't think that's an unusual circumstance for somebody to have what we might think of as an excessive amount of text to respond to, but you kind of prioritize on who it is and what information you need from them or they need from you or whatever. I mentioned that I've been on the phone with Chip a lot over the last week talking about stuff and working on things. And I was sitting right here and Chip says, dude, I got to call you back. Ricky Rocket's calling me. And I'm like, okay, cool. No more explanation needed, but sometimes there's a bigger fish.
That's kind of a funny thing.
I'm just saying, like, Chip and I have a relationship where he can bail on me if he needs to, and I get it, right? It's like I'm probably easier to get in contact with than Ricky Rocket is. I'm assuming that would be the case. So when you're waiting for Ricky Rocket to call you back, or Greg Bissonette, or Tommy Lee, or somebody like that, they're gonna be those guys are harder to probably connect with than I am. So, of course, you don't want to miss that opportunity, right?
Yep.
So, prioritizing, I don't think that's a bad deal at all for that to happen. But just like James says, when you see that they've read the text, and then let's say that days go by with no response.
Oh.
Now I think that's rude.
It's cruel. It's cruel and unusual.
Oh, I thought you said cool at first.
It's cruel.
But are you being the best you can be by not getting back to people? I don't think so.
I think, like, if there's a situation where you can't answer them, because you don't have the answer, you should at least say, hey, I don't know yet. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, exactly.
So they don't think you're just blowing them off.
Right. Exactly. It's well, for example, if you're supposed to be meeting, let's say you're going to meet somebody for coffee at the shop down the street or whatever, and you say, oh, let's meet at 1:00, and 1:00's quickly approaching, and I'm still going to be 15 minutes. What do? You call that person or message them, hey, sorry, I'm running late. I'll be there, in 15 minutes or whatever. Should that person respond back? I asked you a question. Did you hear me? Speaking of not responding,
I was like,
hello, producer. Hello, Mrs.
Am I
Producer.
supposed to respond to this?
Well, I asked you a question. Okay, so I looked through, ladies and gentlemen, I looked through the glass asking her a question, which you all heard, and she's like this.
Well, I just remembered that.
That's one. Two more and you're fired.
I just remembered you told me that Jude needed money on his lunch account. And so I was trying to do that. And then, I got thrown off because his name is gone, but Ian's is still on there. I'm like, oh, great. So I don't know why the one who graduated is still on there, but the one who's still in school is gone.
Well, we can't.
I'll have to deal with that later, I guess.
We understand how the school can get confused with how many Fishers have been through the system.
Or on the last Fisher. Oh.
But my question was,
okay, yeah.
If you were running late to your coffee meeting,
yes,
and you send that person who's already there a message saying,
yes,
hey, I'm going to be 15 minutes late.
Yeah.
Does that person respond back and say, no problem?
Well, I would.
This might be really too far in the weeds with this whole thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to answer. So your attention went to the school.
Yeah.
All right. So, imposter syndrome. I might have been a little confused on the definition of imposter syndrome, but Mary had to help me out. So I got a couple things here from Google. I got Google to help me. What is imposter syndrome? It says it's the feeling of being a fraud even when you're competent. Like you possess the skills and you have the experience and you have the position, but still feeling like you don't deserve that. Is that the correct
Yes.
definition of that?
Yeah.
Now my silly little brain thought imposter syndrome was like copying somebody, or you didn't have your own identity, or that you were feeling like you would never measure up to somebody else's level of talent or experience.
Well, that part is correct.
Okay.
But
so I have
I
a blurry idea then.
I don't think it's copying people.
So Mary thought these statistics were important. I'm going to blame you for the fail of this segment of the show.
Wow.
Imposter syndrome is a common phenomenon affecting an estimated of 70 to 80% of all individuals at some point in their lives. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Studies have shown that it's more prevalent in women than men, and it's very common among high-achieving individuals. Particularly frequent in academic and professional settings, and can affect people of all ages, ethnicities, and socioeconomic backgrounds. So it's not an uncommon thing. Kendall Shue is here. This is timely. I have been running into something similar the last couple weeks.
Oof.
See, that's because we're drummers. Timing. There's a bunch of drummers here. Although that Jamie's not a drummer, but he's a bass player. So he's around us drummers. So what would be an example, Mrs. Producer, of imposter syndrome? Have you ever felt that within yourself? Can I ask?
So we're turning this on me.
Yes.
Yeah, all the time, actually.
Really? Why is that?
I'm not sure what causes a person to feel that way, but I don't know. I've always felt that way.
You felt like you weren't good enough?
Well, I'm not. I don't know about like childhood and stuff, but just musically, I've just never felt that I have much talent. And I'd have people telling me, "Oh, you're so talented," and I'm like, "Okay." And I just smile and say thank you and whatever. But I guess when you're comparing yourself to somebody that you consider to be at a level that you want to be at,
yeah,
and you don't feel like you measure up to that, then you're going to have that feeling, I suppose. But I don't know. I just remember, like, in church, I would always feel like I was the weakest link on the worship team, and but then
I wouldn't think that at
John
all.
and Gil would always say, "Oh, you're so talented," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think, like, you really don't know." I would always say that. I'm like, "You don't think you really get it. I'm really not that good at this. I'm not that. I just figure things out, and I get by with what I know."
Do you think that when somebody feels that way, they lack the awareness of what their abilities are?
Well, like, I guess in my case, I feel like I'm hyper aware of what my abilities are.
Okay.
And so then I feel like my abilities are not that great. So.
Well, I'd have to disagree, and I know that maybe on the surface could seem like a the word just escaped me. dang it, why can't I think?
Because it's early.
Well, you said that I don't suffer from imposter syndrome.
I don't think so, no.
I think I've always been pretty confident in what I can do. At the same time, I think I'm pretty aware of my limitations when it comes to drumming. Like, highly unlikely I would ever accept a jazz gig. Could I maybe fake my way through it? Maybe. But I don't have the I don't think that I possess, at least at this point, like the finesse of jazz drumming or been in that culture of jazz enough to really adopt the proper feel for playing jazz and those kind of things. So I know I have a huge weakness in that department. So I would never accept a gig like that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And I don't feel like...
Yeah, but I don't think that's imposter syndrome.
No, you just said I'd never experienced imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is I think I'm aware of what my abilities are. I think I know where the edges are.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I don't... Well, for example, so Shannon Larkin left the band Godsmack, right? Now that's a gig I could play. I could play those songs. That's like in my wheelhouse, like big time. So other than, being comfortable around those people and seeing if the pieces of the puzzle fit in that dynamic, I think from a musical perspective that I could do that gig confidently. And I don't think I would get into that position and feel like I didn't deserve it or anything like that. I don't know. The producer just ran in to make sure that Jude was off to school. But I think it's just being aware of what your abilities are and what your limitations are. To me, has helped me avoid that scenario, I guess. Did the little producer get off to school?
Little producer, yes.
I call him the little producer because he helped me out with the show a couple weeks ago.
Little producer.
That was when Bart Robley was on and we were giving away an Aquarian drumhead.
Oh.
And he helped with that giveaway. So James says, I've never viewed imposter syndrome as a self-reflection as much as someone else's image of you. I never viewed imposter syndrome as a self-reflection as much as someone else's image of you.
Well, so in my case, it was just a feeling I've always had, but I didn't know there was a term for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I think it was Christian that said, "Oh, you have imposter syndrome." I'm like, what is that?
What did you think it was if you weren't aware of that term?
Well, kind of like what you were describing, like more like I just have this realistic knowledge of what my abilities are. And I disagree with the people who are telling me otherwise. I don't know. So I don't know.
I think
it's just more of a, like, just how I felt about myself. It wasn't, I wouldn't sit there and go, oh, you know what? I think I have imposter syndrome.
Well, I don't know if this falls into the definition necessarily, but I think like from a confidence standpoint.
Yeah.
So when I was hired to drum for the X Drive project, which was headed up by Jeremy Bruner out of Oregon, he saw me play live and wanted me to play drums on his record. And at first I had turned it down. It wasn't until a few years later that I ended up doing it. Now, this project was something that stretched out over a long period of time, but ended up him going to LA and getting involved with Keith St. John, who sang on the record, and James Lomenzo played bass. Andy Johns producing it, which Andy and his brother Glenn did a lot of the Led Zeppelin recording. And so I ended up in LA and I did some more tracks for that album there and met with Andy Johns. And so when you have somebody like Andy Johns who's mixing drums that I recorded and he's telling me, hey, you're a really good drummer. These are easy tracks to work with. I didn't sit back and go, yeah, they are. You know, all I did was say thank you. I didn't say anything else other than that, except thank you. And it was really cool to hear somebody that's worked with John Bonham who was complimenting what I had done.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say that it was an ego thing or being overinflated with myself. It was just like I had done all this work to be able to be in that position. And then never once did I ever feel like I didn't deserve to be there.
So you don't have imposter syndrome.
So, but does that make me, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
I can't think. That's what happens at 7 a.m. Sometimes you just can't think. Does that make me overconfident, or does that make me lucky? Does that make me lack humility? Maybe maybe it depends on the circle of people I'm in.
I don't know. I think like if you got hired to do something, they hired you based on your ability.
Yes.
And then if you executed it well because you were prepared.
Yes.
And you were confident, I don't think that makes you overconfident or arrogant. It just means you did what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, I think that summarizes how I feel in a more comprehensible terms where I couldn't think. Let's see what Kendall says. Kendall Shoe says the crossroads always seem to be after getting harsh criticism is to internalize it in a self-destructive fashion or take the lesson and maybe a piece of what they say is truth and use it as fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got two different responses there to how that internalizing it and being self-destructive or taking that lesson and turning it around and using that as fuel to be better. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, Joffrey Stone says insert Jeopardy theme song, where I was thinking and I couldn't come up with what I wanted to say. But Mary summarized it very, very well. Here's another thing that I Kendall says indeed. So the other thing that I saw, before I get to that, so I was on the phone with Bart Robley a couple days ago. And actually it was, when was it? Sunday I was practicing a song I needed to record with brushes, by the way. Wasn't super jazzy, but it just needed to have that sort of
brushy flair
that you would get from playing the drums with brushes, right?
Yes.
James would probably watch me playing this song with brushes and just like face palm, like, oh, what is this guy doing? Faker. There's the fraud right there.
Yeah.
Fraud Fisher. But I digress.
Found out.
At any rate, so Bart had called me, and sometimes the conversations with Bart are very quick, high-spirited, rapid-fire questions. So Bart asked who my influences were and who I played drums the most like.
Oh.
I said, well, for one, see, James is yelling, precious. Gary, good morning. He asked who my influential drummers were and who I played the most like. So my number one has always been Neil Peart from Rush. Now there's a lot of other Brush Imposter. There's a lot of other drummers that have influenced me, not just Neil Peart. But playing along to Rush songs were probably who I spent the most time listening to and the most time trying to emulate when I would be playing drums. And of course I had this ginormous drum set in order to be able to, I didn't buy the drum set because of that. It was just, those two happened to go hand in hand. But I don't feel like I play like Neil Peart at all. Now, there might be some things that I do that are kind of a tip of the hat to Neil Peart, like playing 16th notes between the ride and the hi-hat. Now, I don't know if that was unique to Neil necessarily, but that's where I absorbed that from. Yes, Kendall, James Harrison is the Brush pillar of excellence. I agree. James has that dialed in, man. It's just like a side note. It's like part of the drumming world that I have not spent much time in at all. So if anybody saw me doing something with brushes, they would probably just be like, who is this clown?
Does he have cobwebs stuck on those sticks? What's he doing?
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you run across those drummers who's had the same pair of sticks for like 15 years, 20 years. And they're like, these are the best sticks ever. They've never broken. Well, they've never been used. Of course they're not going to break. These are museum sticks. So that's the case. But anyway, Bart was asking me who my influence were. I said Neil Peart. I don't really play like Neil. Now, maybe when I'm younger, I think I probably would lean into that a little bit more. But he said, who do you play the most like now? And I like, my first thought was like, well, I play like Fred Fisher. Like, I feel like I took all these different elements from all these different drummers I've looked up to, or like, I would say like if my drumming now would probably lean more towards like Scott Rockenfield from Queensryche or something like that, where there's a little bit of prog rock elements to what I play. But it's not a complete Scott Rockenfield ripoff. So I think, but I had, now I'm not saying this to be criticized, because you got somebody like Neil Peart, and then you got somebody like Ricky Rocket from Poison. Like that had an effect on me too.
Well, and I would say Tommy Lee.
Tommy Lee, definitely. Yeah. Tommy Lee definitely has a lot of influence in my playing. But you know, when you think about drummers from the 80s who had a lot of stick tricks and flash and those kind of things, like I kind of miss that part of that. Ties back like to the entertainment thing, like I mentioned when we first started, was like, are you entertaining? But this all comes down to becoming the best you can be. Like, I don't want to be the best Neil Peart, or I don't want to be the best Scott Rockenfield. I want to be the best Fred Fisher. And so, yeah, Tommy Lee. Let's see. I'm missing a couple comments here. I think maybe James and Kendall are talking, which this is great. Oh, Gary says, you going to see John Bonham tomorrow night? Walfredo Jr. is playing here tomorrow with Chicago as well. Ah, man. No to both of those. How did I miss that Jason Bonham was coming? Dang it.
And Chicago?
And Chicago. Is that the Chicago Toto show? Is that what it is? Wait.
No, it's...
Who was supposed to be with Toto? It was Christopher Cross, I
think.
Yeah,
Christopher Cross.
I don't know, man. I would like to go to concerts more often, but I just
Well, I mean, you work in the evening.
dang
so.
it, Gary. Now I'm feeling down. Dang it. So Joffrey says, what attracted me to you about, whoa, did I just read that wrong? Although what attracted me to you about is that Morgan Rose and Sully Erna and Shannon Larkin. Yeah, thanks, Joff. I think those are the drummers that people have compared me to the most in recent years is Morgan Rose from Seven Dust. Before I had ever even heard, before I knew who Morgan Rose was, I had heard of Seven Dust because I was playing their song Black in a cover band, and I was told to learn it. But I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know anything about them other than the song Black that I learned to play. And so I had my hair shaved on the sides and down around the back, and then I had all this long hair on top, and it was in braids, and sometimes it was dyed red, and I would have beads in the end, and I play really animated big movements, and I would be playing with midline, and I would have people say, you look and play a lot like Morgan Rose. And I didn't even know who Morgan Rose was. And so when I finally saw Morgan Rose with braids and this big animated drumming style, I thought, oh crap. Now I would assume, now I don't know Morgan well enough to speak for him, but we're of the same age and grew up in that same time period where the 80s drummers had big, huge movements and spinning sticks and all of this thing going on. And so that really influenced how we play. And so sometimes when I play, some of those movements I made have just become part of the beat. And so it kind of went from, it started off as a showing off thing. I fully admit that, but as it just kind of developed from there and became more and more of a, that's just how I played. But when I saw Morgan, I was like, I got to cut off my hair. So that was kind of the genesis of having short hair again, was like, I got to not look like Morgan Rose. But yeah, Morgan, Shannon Larkin, and Will Hunt, I think all of us have a really similar performance style and drumming style. And it's kind of cool to be included in those group of drummers. Gary said, I should have reached out sooner. I'll take pics. Well, that'll be better than not being there.
We saw them last time they were here.
Chicago, yeah.
Was that been a couple years ago?
Man, if I would have, I would like to get Walfredo on the show. I have his phone number. I should just call him sometime.
Yeah.
James says, I've had different phases of drumming where I was highly influenced by a certain drummer. During that time, I did sound somewhat like those drummers, but eventually those influences molded into my style. Yeah, same for me. Yeah. So I think sometimes, so this would be my misunderstanding of imposter syndrome, is that sometimes the people that influence us, we can't seem to shake that influence. Like we emulate was probably be the best word. You end up emulating those people and how they play all the time. And you never seem to find your own identity. You never seem to find the real you. Like does that make sense?
I know what you're saying, but that's not imposter syndrome.
Right. That's why I said that was my misunderstanding of imposter syndrome. So that, bad on my end. Bad on my end. The other thing that I thought was kind of cool that I wanted to mention is Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins has a podcast called The Magnificent Others, and he's got really cool guests on there. And I started watching the one with Steve Vai yesterday. And those who know of Steve Vai as this completely shredding guitar player, and he's in that world with Joe Satriani and Yngwie Malmsteen, and there's other guys that I'm drawing a blank on, but at any rate, Billy Corgan was asking him about playing alongside of Yngwie Malmsteen for these shredding guitar things that they do. And so years ago, when the shredding guitar player thing happened, there wasn't that, it was kind of a small group of people, where now, like Billy Corgan said on the show, you've got 8-year-old kids playing Eruption around the world. Like, the shredding guitar player community is pretty big now. However, back when, I was exposed to Steve Vai first when he was playing with David Lee Roth and Greg Bissonette and Billy Sheehan were his band. Amazing band, right? Just all these A-list players, and Steve Vai doing all this crazy stuff with his solo work, and just like, I was always like, my jaw would just drop watching him play guitar. Like, that guy was amazing, and thinking like, what would it be like to play drums with that guy? What opportunities would lead to that? I don't know, but that would be cool. At any rate, so Steve was talking to Billy Corgan about this whole shredding guitar player being a gunslinger thing, and like this attitude of I have to beat you, I have to win, and kind of an ego over who's the best. And so Steve Vai was talking about being on stage and Yngwie playing something and trading licks. So Yngwie would play, and then Steve Vai would play, and then Yngwie would play. It was like this battle going back and forth. And he said, when you're in a situation like that, you have to be listening intently about what's going on around you so that you can respond appropriately to what's happening. And he said he realized that he just couldn't compete with Yngwie. And instead of like being defeated, like, oh, I'll never be as good as Yngwie, or I can't do those things that Yngwie does, he says, if you're smart, it'll force you to compete with the best of yourself. And I thought that was pretty profound thing. What say you, producer? Are you listening?
Just trying to keep my eyes open, bro.
Oh no.
I'm joking. I was reading about this other thing. So.
Oh, of course you were.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Steve Vai said it forced him to realize, like, you're only competing with the best of yourself. Like, you got to be better than yourself. Like, that's who you're competing with, is to become the better drummer, the better guitar player, the better singer constantly. Mm-hmm. And you have to have a discipline of practice to achieve that, right? To improve your skill set.
Yes.
And, your stage presence is important in how you look and having your own personality. So he was telling Billy Corgan, he's like, I realize I have to be the best version of myself. I have to find the more of the Steve Vai to come out in those situations. Mm. And I thought that was really cool. He wasn't beating himself up over, like, I'm not as good as.
Well, I was just, so what I was reading was in this, when we were Googling about what imposter syndrome is, one of the things was it said signs that you might have it is downplaying your accomplishments, fear of being found out, attributing success to luck instead of effort, and over preparing or procrastinating out of fear.
Yeah.
And it was that last one that kind of jumped out at me. Like, at first I thought, I don't know about that. And then I thought, no, that's accurate. Not necessarily the procrastination part, but the over preparing, like, because you don't think you're good enough. So you're going to practice and practice and practice and practice. And so I can see, like, for being the best you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You're going to feel like you've got to keep practicing.
Well, Matt Starr says something.
I don't know about procrastinating. But over preparing out of fear, I can see that. over preparing because you feel like, oh, if I screw up, then people are going to be like, oh, yep, see.
Right. Yeah.
They're not really that good.
Well, attributing success to luck instead of effort, I think, well, you said I don't have imposter syndrome, but I'm not sure, like...
But I wouldn't say success.
What would you say?
Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by success.
Well,
for example, we've got, I'm not going to say his name.
Okay.
But a former student of yours who made it into a world-class drum corps.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Notably in the top 5, but actually did even better than that this year.
Mm-hmm.
Is considered one of the most elite snare drummers out there because of where they ranked, right? In current year.
Yeah.
And yet spent the entire summer feeling like he wasn't good enough to be on that line. Yet he made it through the audition process. He was clearly good enough to be on that line.
Yeah.
So I could see how, for the imposter syndrome, he could feel like he got there out of luck.
Okay.
Instead of feeling like he got there because he actually was good enough to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like, I have this discussion sometimes with other students, especially.
But sorry to interrupt, but coming back to the over preparing.
Yeah.
40 hours a week practicing leading up to auditions. That's pretty intense.
Oh, for him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, aside from the world of drum corps, like one thing that Matt Starr has said over several years is, with his clients that he works with and helping people become successful or full-time musicians or achieving their dream and whatever that is that they feel like his clients feel like they need to spend more time in the rehearsal room. Like they just have to be better at playing fast, or they have to be better at this.
Yeah.
And he said, the truth of it is most of these people are already prepared well enough with what they can bring musically to the table.
Uh-huh.
It's that they already possess the skills. It's like the answer isn't practicing more. The answer is like getting more people aware of you and building those relationships. And that's where you need to focus your time and efforts. It's not learning how to play paradiddles faster. Because you're not going to, not that you shouldn't have that tool in the toolbox, but that's not the thing that's going to make or break you, is how fast you can play paradiddles. If that makes sense. So like maybe over preparing in the wrong area.
Sure.
Possibly. One thing that like in this Google search, it ties into what Kendall had to say is reframe mistakes as growth. Failing means that you're trying. Like not everything that you try to do is always going to have the outcome that you want. The end result isn't always going to be that. So then you have to, if you failed at that once, then you have to say, well, how do I do that differently to get the result I want to do? Not just like, well, that failed and I'm not good enough, so I'm out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What am I missing? James says he saw that interview from Billy Corgan and liked it, or was one of his better ones. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I really do like watching Billy Corgan's interviews, but every once in a while, I think he gets stuck on himself.
Oh, geez.
But so those are the things that made me think about being the best you can be and not worrying too much about what everybody else is doing, because what everybody else is doing is what's working for them typically. I would say like in the scenario of being in a band, whether it's an original band or a cover band, and those groups are having some kind of success or what you might view as being success, chances are behind the scenes they're doing a lot of work to make that happen, to be better at what they do. And maybe you want to take some tips from what they're doing, but not exactly copying what they're doing. Does that make sense, producer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. James says, I've always said you don't lose an audition, you get beat. Often when you lose, then you either evaluate the reasons. Oftentimes that leads to slamming the person that beat you. Yep. Yep. And then claiming they aren't as good as, etc. That's why I said that the imposter syndrome can be someone else's projection on another. Yeah, I agree with that. Like if you don't get the gig that you want and somebody else beats you out, and then you start tearing down the person who did it, right? Are you researching something else out there?
Me?
Yeah, you.
No, I'm just reading I'm reading, and you took it down.
Oh, I'll put it back. Here it is.
I wanted to actually read it because I for whatever reason, because your thing went as an event in Facebook.
Yeah.
It's screwing me up on being able to see all the comments. I have to keep refreshing the screen instead of them just popping up. So
are you? Yeah. So just side note, when I did the prep for the live for today, I did it last night, probably around, I don't know, 9:30 or 10. Facebook automatically generated like an event to invite people to watch, which I had never seen that before. And it just did it on its own. And I don't know if it properly posted or if that's even necessary. I don't know. So it was like I was forced into like this beta testing thing with it. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I was going to do that. Maybe I would want to do that like a week before.
I don't know. It bumped me out of your live stream. And so I usually when I get into yours, it's from your story. And so now I just clicked on your story. So when you first started, I couldn't get in the right way. It was making me go through the event. And so now I'm in through the live and I can see how many people are watching and I can see all the comments now in order and like live chat overview, your replies, all that. Like a lot of that stuff wasn't there. It was really a weird format. I was not appreciating it. Like I can't see any of this. I have to keep hitting refresh.
So anybody experiencing what Mary did, sorry about that.
Just go back to the story.
Go back to the story. Well, I think, I was talking about comparing your bands to other bands and feeling like, well, because James made me think of this, like when somebody else gets the gig and you don't. I don't know if it's just our human nature to like when somebody else is having success at what they're doing, and then you have other people on the sidelines criticizing what you're doing, or talking about how they could do it better. A lot of negative stuff surrounding that, right?
Sure.
I would say that.
Sorry if this is loud.
When I got an endorsement with Vader Drumsticks with the help of James, being an advocate for that, when I announced that I had that endorsement, I was bombarded with a bunch of Facebook messaging and text messaging. It's like drummers came out of the woodwork I hadn't heard in a long time. Very few of those people actually said congratulations. A lot of them said, how did you make that work and how can I get in on the action? I had people messaging me like, oh, now that you're getting free sticks, can you give me free sticks? And I'm like, I'm not getting free sticks. I get a discounted stick, but like I did all this work to put that emotion, and James was there to help facilitate, through his relationship. And it's now that I had this thing, like everybody comes out wanting a piece of that for whatever reason. And I guess that would be like, I did have some pretty negative stuff that happened that made me feel like, well, am I not deserving of this? Like I started having those thoughts a little bit, and then I would be like, no. No. I worked my rear off to be allowed in the door, kind of a thing. So So James was talking about the live. He said, I saw it like an invite. It actually sent a reminder right before you came on. Oh, cool. So maybe it's a benefit for it to create the event, their producer. We'll see if it automatically generates again next week, because I'd never seen that happen before. And as far as I know, I didn't do anything different. Gary says, let's do this. Gary said, I had an opportunity invite to audition for Winona in 1991. I flew from California to Nashville. Didn't even bring a guitar. Wow. I went to a pawn shop and bought a $99 Squire, practice amp, and a tuner. Not prepared at all, just excited to get the invite, but I just should have had politely declined as opposed to looking like a bum off the street pranking the band. Willie Weeks on bass. I did learn a lot. Oh, yeah. Can I get some free sticks? No, you can't get free sticks. I know a guy, though. Am I missing anything? I don't think I'm missing anything. Just talking about being the best you can be. And then having self-awareness.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, how does that tie into how are you tying that into imposter syndrome?
Well, it ties in with my original thought about what imposter syndrome was, but I was wrong. So
well, but not necessarily.
Well, I just think that having self-awareness about what your abilities really are, and that if you have fruits of those labors, then accept those gladly and not feel like, I don't know if like having humility, having so much humility go the wrong direction. Like always, I don't know, like you have the ability to do stuff or a skill set to do something, and then having success with it and people are congratulating you or whatever, and you're like, oh, no.
I don't know.
Like that, to me, that's a turnoff too. When somebody has no confidence in accepting that they have some kind of skill set. I think it's somebody told me this a long time ago, is like when somebody compliments you, just say thank you.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing a show and somebody comes up and says, that was great, that was so much fun, don't respond by going, oh, well, I dropped my stick in the third song, and then I played the wrong tempo for this song, and then
I've been sick for 2 weeks, so I have no voice.
Yeah, where you just start telling them all the things that went wrong. It like totally shatters their experience of what they just had. So don't do that. If somebody says great job, just say thank you. And on the other hand, if they say great job, don't also say, I know, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am. Like that when
I am pretty good at what I do.
We'd be like, Christian, you got a new haircut. It looks so good. And he'd be like, yeah, I know.
That was when my son was little.
I know, but little kids, they don't know how to respond. I know, it looks good.
There was a student I worked with at Mountain View that had autism, and he was in the band, and I saw he had got a haircut, and I thought it looked nice, and I complimented it on him, and I said, hey man, your haircut looks really good. He's like, third compliment of the day. It wasn't a thank you, and because of who he is, his response totally made sense.
And he does not have imposter syndrome.
No, he does not. No, he does not. So being the best you can be, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So if you have imposter syndrome, gosh, this is really weird watching you on the delay. I'm like, he's talking still, but he's not. So if you have imposter syndrome, then you need to stop focusing on how you're trying to compare yourself to who you're striving to be.
Yeah.
but by saying, like looking at, okay, these are my idols or whatever musically, and saying, I like what he does, I like what she does, I like this, I like that, and then building yourself up and making your own version of what you want to be.
Yeah.
And just don't be so hard on yourself.
Well, I don't think we want to confuse that with being nervous about something either.
No, I'm not talking about nervous. No.
Typically when you get into like a newer environment, it's pretty natural to feel a little nervous and a little bit out of place.
Right.
But don't feel like you're not deserving of being there.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't want to confuse those feelings. Some I get asked frequently, especially from students, if I get nervous playing gigs. Not so much. Like, I could tell you the last time I felt nervous or had a little bit of that feeling is what I was playing with Gary Tackett for this Crossroads Eric Clapton tribute thing that he put together. And it was kind of a crash course a little bit for me because I learned all of these songs in a very short period of time. And then we had 2 rehearsals and then the gig. And so I was a little I wasn't nervous about playing drums. I was like a little bit nervous, like I got to make sure I remember these songs correctly. And I didn't play the gig 100% on point, but I made it through, and I didn't make anybody look bad. So I think I held it together pretty well. But then the next show that we played, there was way more comfort in that. It was like, okay, we got one under our belt. But when it comes to like playing with midline, no nerves about that whatsoever. And yeah, can there still be mistakes that happen? Yeah, of course. But I'm like really, really super comfortable in that environment.
Well, I suppose it depends on what you're nervous about. Like, the difference between those two things is you've been playing those midline songs for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys practice a lot when you're getting ready for a gig.
Yeah.
So you're not nervous about like, oh, am I going to screw this song up or whatever. I'll be nervous for like when we do new songs. I'll be nervous about remembering the words.
Oh, sure.
Especially if it's a song I didn't like. So like if it's a song that I knew as a kid, like most of the words are already ingrained in my brain.
Sure. But
if it's a song that I was aware of, but I never really sang it or anything as a kid, then those are the songs that I struggle with. And I'll be nervous about them every single time because I'm like, okay, I just got to get through the second verse and then I'm fine.
Yeah.
But sometimes I flip I'll flip lyrics. I'll put some from the second verse into the first or whatever. And I'm like, oh, thank God I got through that. Like, I don't know how I was able to actually sing. Sometimes it just flat out drop out because I get like, I don't know, ADHD brain or something. And I'm suddenly thinking of something else. And there goes the words.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't want to necessarily say like singers have it the worst, but that's a lot of words to commit to remembering. Mm-hmm. And then the melody and all of those kind of things. Yeah. But I think that if that's what you chose to do, then that's your responsibility to do it.
Oh, okay.
So buck up, camper. You chose that line of work.
I mean, you're just playing drums, so.
I know. I have the easy job, right? So easy a caveman can do it. It's like a Geico commercial.
Or a chimpanzee.
Yeah, that was from last week, right? Or a toddler. Or Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks.
Not all of us can be Josh Freese, but a lot of us can be a chimp.
So don't go throwing things into the audience.
So I mentioned playing with Gary with the Crossroads thing and having 2 rehearsals and learning all of those songs in a short period of time. I actually prefer that over having to rehearse like nonstop crazy amounts of rehearsal. Because I guess I now live in that world where time is so important to everything else that I do. It's like, how many really great musicians can you get together on the same thing and everybody does their part so you don't have to work that hard? And so that was kind of the case with the Crossroads deal, is that everybody had a good skill set and we didn't have to, work that hard to make it happen and it be good. Let's see what Jared is here. Let's put Jared's comment up.
Hi, Jared.
Yeah. Jared says, I consistently compare myself to the best, but mainly just as a goal. When I fall short of it, I don't beat myself up anymore. Like you said, having a realistic grasp of your own talent level is important. But as long as you keep striving to improve, you will, and that's where it's at.
Yep.
Yeah, great comment, Jared. Thanks. I think it's important to remember that no matter how high your ability is that the top of the mountain for you? Or do you keep wanting to be better? Like I mentioned, Neil Peart being my favorite drummer, and seeing interviews and articles about him taking drum lessons still and still trying to be the best drummer he can be, even though he was this hugely influential drummer and highly regarded in the drumming community and the music world in general, just to be that incredible. Yes, good morning. I sit here and I teach drum lessons Monday through Thursday, and I sit right here in this room and I've got these instructional books, and some of my students say, how do you play that so easily? Because I'm in it nonstop. That's how. Like that's my world, is I'm looking at stick control, 5-6 hours a week. I'm looking at these other books for 5 or 6 hours a week. I'm like, so many students are like in a same area, and so I'm looking at the same material over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so I get a lot of practice. I get a lot of practice on those. And so because I've been in it so deeply, frequently, that's where it becomes easy. And that's where, as individuals, if you want to become better at your craft, you got to invest the time. They have to have that discipline to do it. And then I think taking lessons from people is really important in whatever instrument that you're in, whether you're a singer or a drummer or whatever instrument that you play. You hear that weird interference happening?
Mm-mm. What?
Now it's gone. It's gone. But at any rate, it's like no matter what level you seem to be achieving, there's no ceiling. You can just keep going and keep going and keep going. So I think that's it. Be the best you can be. I appreciate everybody commenting and watching. And if you watch on the replay, you can still comment and we can respond and have a conversation. Really great stuff. If you're on Facebook and you scroll back to the top of the comment sections, you're going to find Chip Ritter's link for his fundraiser for breast cancer. Stick it and follow Chip, because there's a lot of great stuff. And we're going to be talking about that off and on through the next few weeks. And I'm going to try to get Chip, once Chip has everything lined out, I'm going to get Chip on the show, and we're going to talk about that stuff too. Gary, have a great week. So you're going to go see Jason Bonham's thing tonight. Is that right? Or are you going to go see Chicago? Or are you going to show hop? Are you going to go to one for a little bit and then the other? I don't know. If I had a guess, Gary's going to go see Jason Bonham. I heard that show's really amazing. Give Gary a chance to respond if he didn't click off already. What else are we missing? Let's see. Do
you have any gigs coming up?
I I have a show with Cliff coming up next week, but it's a wedding reception thing up in Stanley. I think it's next Sunday. And then I think the following week we have another wedding reception we're playing out towards Jackson, Wyoming. It's not in Jackson, but it's that direction. Midline may have somewhat of a show coming up. I don't even know how to describe it because, as most people know, our longtime bass player for the band, Stymie, passed away a couple weeks ago now, and trying to put something together to honor him. So I don't know that I'm going to find out the details of this tomorrow night, Wednesday night. So I don't even know what to tell you because I don't know what it is yet, but I know that we're trying to put something together, and there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen on this one. So I really don't know. So that'll be something supposedly coming up. The producer put in the comments here. Let's put this up really quick before we sign off. The definition of humility, a modest view of oneself, free from pride or arrogance, whereas imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. Thanks for putting that in there. That helps a lot.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for hanging out. Really appreciate it. I don't know what's on tap for next week. We'll figure that out, and I'm going to get some more guests lined out. And,
why don't you, if you have any ideas for guests, drop it in the comments. And if you got any gigs lined up, drop those in the comments too. My band's playing at Heritage Social on Saturday.
Oh yeah, Casio Dreams.
Saturday night.
Saturday night at Heritage. You see there's a little ticker banner going across the bottom of the screen asking for those of you who are on YouTube, or if you're on Facebook, either my page or the Fred Rock School of Drumming, give those pages a like, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Definitely helps me. And then you don't miss anything. You don't miss any of this fun, down home, good old entertainment.
Wow.
Maybe I should change this logo to some plain mustard yellow with brown lettering. No. Instead of the Drummergy Podcast, could be the Drummergy Podcast. Right?
Just words. It looks like a 5th grader started to learn how to use Photoshop, and that's as far as they got.
Yeah. Exactly. That's 100% accurate.
There's our new logo.
Yes, exactly. Hey, producer, what say you? Let's go in and figure out some breakfast stuff, and then let's record some drums.
All right.
Sounds like a good plan.
Sounds like a plan.
The next 2 songs I'm recording do not require brushes, so I'll be more comfortable in my drum throne. All right, guys, have a good one. We'll see you next week. Bye.